Okay, Joanna, thank you so much for accepting my invitation to come here and talk
Thank you
about
so much for inviting me.
and talking about the importance of feeling enough as we are and showing up as ourselves in our business. Um, I would like to say that I've worked with Joanna personally, and it has always been very inspiring the way that Joanna um, does business, how she connects with her clients, and how she really brings this very beautiful balance of female and male energies into the business and really encourages their clients to bring all the experience that they carry through this lifetime into their business. So it's not just a part of us that is showing up, it's all of us. And from that, really find the passion within us to reflect in our business. And it's from that point of being of service and doing what we love, then the clients come and everything um, becomes in flow. And and I feel like you really inspire me not only with that but also in taking action. And Joanna also has some Facebook groups in which she supports female entrepreneurs um, and entrepreneurs in general, isn't it, Joanna?
Yes.
To
Thank you so much, Sarah. That's so beautiful. I'm really touched, and I'm so glad because the thing is, I think to be quite honest, every one of us are unique, and when we have so much value to add, then why not share everything that we can, but most importantly in a way that feels good to us.
yes, definitely, and you do that so well.
Thank
Um,
you.
and just through working with Joanna, I created my first course. I adventured into more live videos because I was hiding a lot behind the writing department, and I brought my skills in makeup artistry. I'm bringing my dancing skills as well, and all that thanks to Joanna, who really um, incent- gives a big incentive in bringing all that forth. So, Joanna, I would like to ask you if you want to talk a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much. I'm honestly so honored to be able to, um, first of all, to have you as a client and to have worked with you and to continue to work with you because for me it gives me a lot of pleasure seeing people just really embrace everything that they have to offer and to stand in that power, knowing that actually yes I am enough and yes I can do anything that I want to do, and I know and trust that I'm going to be supported. And the fact is, we're here on this earth to enjoy life. It's not meant to be hard and a slog and a hustle or struggle. That's not what we're here to do. So going back to the question, but thank you so much. I'm truly honoured. Um, so who am I? I am Joanna. I am a holistic business consultant. I have a background in law, and essentially, for a lot of my life, I was very much in that masculine energy. From a very young age, as many people, we are expected to work hard, study hard, become, someone with a degree or some sort of profession, in the traditional sense. And that was the idea of success. So I spent a lot of my life doing that, working hard, studying hard, trying my best to do things, even though it didn't feel good within me. I carried on doing it because I thought that was what you had to do in order to be successful. And after studying, after working for a little while, I got to this space where I was like, hold on a minute, there has to be more to life than just working 24/7 because you are constantly in the game of competition, you're constantly giving, and there is literally no end in sight. You can be working until 10, 11 o'clock. Even though you're not enjoying yourself, you still have to sort of get it done in order to make money and to pay the bills. So I fortunately grew up around a lot of holistic therapies. So my parents are from Malaysia, so they essentially brought us up using a lot of Ayurvedic medicine and holistic therapy. So um, the way that it linked in was very much in terms of when I got to that stage where I was like, okay, there has to be more to life than this. And of course, being in a corporate career, having children, having a family to look after, having the usual things that people go through, I was very much in the stage of, okay, well, I need to find something which is going to help me with all the stress that I'm going through. I need to do something in order to enjoy life a bit more. So I started experimenting a lot with meditational modalities, with shamanic practices, and just with various different holistic modalities and therapies, which really helped me to just enjoy life a bit more and see that there was so much more that I could be doing. And just after a long time of just practicing those modalities, incorporating it into my daily life, and actually realizing that there was so much more to life than just the hard work and struggle, I decided that actually there was so much more that I had to do, and my work wasn't done in just working hard, getting the education, and getting a job. There was so much more that I had to offer, and that's where I started my business, because I also realized that there were many other healers, therapists, coaches, so many more people out there who had a lot more to offer, but they weren't really fully stepping into who they were as people. They were very much hiding behind the labels of, oh, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm an accountant, I'm an architect. It was always behind a title, but never really showing up and being confident in who they were, to start their own businesses, to start serving more people, and ultimately to really feel that they can be empowered as themselves.
That's a beautiful journey, and one of the questions actually that I was going to ask you was about those moments in our life where we feel that need to just open space and allow
Mm.
another part of us to flourish. And I find that it's in those moments that the big changes are going to happen, just like it happened to you, that part of you was missing, that, that little bit to perhaps compensate that working hard, that logical side, that part of Joanna was eager to come to
Yeah,
come forth.
absolutely. And I think it's also very present in the work that you do in terms of the soul plan, and also in your course as well, where you really encourage people to find out what else they are. They are not simply what the world has told them to be or what they have been taught to be. There is so much more to the person, and it's just about really tapping into those things and being like, okay, what does it feel like for me to dance, or what does it feel like for me to really look at all the challenges that I've been through and find out what those lessons are.
Hmm.
And sometimes it can be, okay, these are things that you really enjoyed doing as a child. Sometimes it can be, oh my God, you went on a course and you just, you immediately were drawn to a certain, area or certain topic. There are so many things that we have. It's almost like these hidden talents that we would love to do, but it's almost like we have no time to do it because we're too busy with important work.
Yes, and sometimes we feel like because it's so easy for us that it couldn't be a career, it couldn't be a job, because it's
Hmm.
too easy to be our source of income. Um,
Yeah,
and that is so common because most of us have been doing something without needing to learn since we were born,
absolutely.
right? And that's who we truly are. And one way or another it's infusing in every single thing we do. And I think it's really about looking at all those things and find the common thread between them, because there is no way that we can fully suppress that essence, even though a lot of conditioning takes place in this
Yeah, absolutely.
lifetime. It's impossible that our essence will not shine through.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and the more, just like you said, the more we open space, the more it will come and the more it will
Hmm.
shine. And it's a lot about allowing that to happen,
I
I think.
totally agree. I think, and I remember when I was young, it was almost like, the things which were very easy. It was like, okay, that can be your hobby, but it's not something that you do in order to make money. And it's only after I really started to tap into my own inner being and really find out what it is that I wanted to do that I completely understood this concept of money and how, from a very young age, we are taught that we need to work hard in order to get money. But when we really start to understand the energy behind money, and we hear it so often, money is an energy, but when you really start to understand it and get down to, you know, understanding that actually the universe source creator is the source of all of our money and abundance, that's when you can really trust the next steps and you don't feel like you've got to be in control of everything. Literally, I have to get up and I have to go to work and I have to do this in order to make money. And that's when it starts to get tense and very in the masculine energy, very it feels like you've got to always be pushing and driving and really
Hmm.
working hard in order to do anything, in order to accomplish anything.
And I like as well something that you do within your packages, which is the branding aspect, in which it's not just about, our mission and our talents, is how that is expressed in every aspect of the business. So that exercise of the branding to find who we are in the color schemes, in the kind of letter we use. And I find that it's not just targeting one specific thing. It's almost like our business becoming an extension of ourselves. And I really, really liked that aspect too, because I really like to create the graphics for
And
stuff.
you're amazing at it. Like when we went through that process, I was just like, oh my god, you're in your element. You're amazing at this.
Yes, I yes, I love that part. And do you think, because I remember in one of the events that I
Hmm.
participated, hosted by you, you were mentioning that moment when you saw a member of your family. I
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it was your mother-in-law that carried her business in a different way that you were used to see, and how that brought the aspect of the divine feminine
Yep.
into your business and the way you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, growing up in the UK in London, I was very much focused on all things to do with, education, university. In my family, that was a big thing. You have to go to university, you've got to study hard, you've got to qualify as a lawyer. So that was all I'd ever known. I had my daughter when I was very young, so I got married when I was very young. So I went to Tunisia, which is where my husband's from, and I stayed with my in-laws for a little while when my daughter was small, and it was fantastic. Of course, sun, fresh food, everything else. But what was really important for me to see at that time, and this was while I was still actually studying, um, is that my father-in-law was the typical male goes to work. He's got his business. He's the one who goes out every morning, very early in the morning, while everyone else is sleeping. He goes to work. He gets the job done. He comes back home, and that's what's typical in many parts of the world. It's the male who is the breadwinner. But what I found really interesting and what really opened my eyes to the way that business is done is that my mother-in-law, who has 6 children, obviously they're all now grown, um, she also had her own business. And this is a lady who didn't have, a high level of education because, in Tunisia at least, it wasn't at that time important for women to go to university, etc., etc. But she'd raised her children, but she's got her own business, which is run completely differently to obviously my father-in-law. Now, her way of doing business is, you will see neighbors, her clients, essentially, her friends coming to her house. They would sit down over a cup of tea, and that's how they would do business. She would have she's got products that she essentially gets shipped in from different parts of the world, and because she's got enough land, with the money that she makes, it's just literally she's built different buildings, different houses, accommodation on the land, and that's how she's now got rental income. She's got the business that she runs, and it's just done in a completely different way. She doesn't stand at a shop front, haggling with anyone. She doesn't. When people come to her house, when they come to her front room or the garden to sit down and have a cup of tea, it's literally women sitting over and having a conversation. So it's that difference in connection. They're genuinely coming and they have a conversation. She's not there with an ulterior motive to sell them something. She's not there trying to, push something onto them. It's genuinely them having a conversation, and then they will say, oh, by the way, I need to get this, can you, can I buy this from you? Or someone needs somewhere to stay, have you got anywhere to rent? Literally this woman has made more income than her husband, whilst just being at home, whilst being, the homemaker. And she hasn't done it in a way where she feels that she needs to push. She hasn't done it in a way which feels that she needs to go outside of her comfort zone in order to make anything happen. She sits in her house, she just gets on with what she needs to do, and she knows what she's doing. And for me, just seeing that, and you don't see her during the day standing outside and haggling for customers. you know, she's doing what she loves to do, whether it be, sewing or, making something. She just does whatever brings her joy. And it's her personality which really makes her business a success. And I think that for me was the where I opened my eyes to see, oh my God, this is the way that a feminine business is done. Because so far, the way that I had learned was, okay, a business needs to be run in a male and masculine way. You need to have a shop front, you need to have your suppliers, you need to have customers, you need to have, it was all very rigid. And that's the way that I learned, because not only was I taught that way in terms of have you need to work hard, you need to have an education, you need to have a profession, blah blah. But also from my experience of my own dad, who had multiple businesses, and when I had to help out there, it was all very masculine. It was like, okay, so this is the way that it's done. You need to, make sure you charge this price. This is, it was all very money orientated. It was all very rigid and masculine. Whereas this way, it was a completely different way, which I'd never experienced before. But it was a very good lesson for me, and it really opened up new avenues.
Yeah, and I can see how that now influences the way you do business. So I think this is a very important notion of knowing that both energies have a place within the business.
Absolutely.
And because, feminine energy is quite flowy, brings a lot of the emotional side, that connection. And we also need that masculine energy, for those boundaries, for those strong foundations. So, what would you say is the role of the masculine energy within a business?
So masculine is just as important as the feminine, in my opinion. I mean, in order to have that motivation, to have that drive, to really have that sense of, actually I really want to be doing something, that enthusiasm. If you think, typically when you think about the feminine energy, it's very flowy, it's very laid back, and it's very like, just you lay back and you just allow things to happen, and it's almost like, the hands are open. And that's it's a fantastic way of receiving. It's a fantastic way of allowing. But in order to, put things in place in terms of like the structure, the motivation, and it's almost like making sure that you've got some sort of a structure in place in order to allow. So if I usually, when I think about seeds, and this is, this is the way I think, it's almost like when you have seeds, um, and you've got a farm, and the farmer's going to plant the seeds. The masculine will be the farmer actually being like, okay, now is the time. It's the right time of the season. I need to actually get up and I need to go and plant all these seeds now. So that's, the masculine action, taking that action. And then it's about, okay, so I need to be consistent in pouring, watering the seeds, in feeding the seeds, and making sure that things happen. And then the feminine is literally like, the seeds growing and just allowing and receiving and taking in all the beautiful sunshine and all the energy that's coming through, and drawing up the nutrients. And I feel like with the feminine, it's also very much like not stressing and not forcing things to happen in a way that is unnatural. Like the feminine is not sitting there like watching over the seeds. It's literally like, okay, well, I trust that this is going to happen. I've done the action that I need to take. The masculine side of me is water the seeds, it's planted it, it's the right season, checking all that is fine. As long as I maintain consistent in that, the feminine is like, okay, nature do its thing. I know that I've done what I need to do, and the seed will grow, and I trust that it's going to grow, and it's going to grow into a beautiful and abundant and flourishing, flower or tree or whatever it is that you've planted. But it's definitely a balance of both.
That's I love that. I love that image and that explanation. It really brings a lot of clarity in both sides, and I think that sometimes we have preconceived ideas of what each energy means
Mm-hmm.
based on also how we grew up and
Yeah.
what we saw. And the thing is, we are so we learn how to control our environment from very early on to
Mm-hmm.
protect ourselves, but we are actually neglecting that vulnerability and that essence, that uniqueness that we had before we started to control everything and wear our masks in order, to feel safe, to feel loved. And I find that a lot of that female energy comes from uncovering, like discovering back that vulnerability. Because I find personally that that's actually the only way to build relationships. Independently of the nature of the relationship, if there's no vulnerability, there's no connection. Because when there's no vulnerability, it means that a mask is there. And I find this more and more to be a very relevant topic because a lot of times in business, we really think we need to look a certain way. We need to show up in a certain way. We need to say things in a certain way, write things in a certain way. And it's always something else other than ourselves. And and this I think it's so important because it's being perpetuated, this idea of looking perfect. But what does perfect really means? Um, so I find that not only for men but for women, for both, this is a very crucial aspect of us showing up as who we are. It's accepting, as you said, both female and male energies as powerful and important as a whole. Um, so this is my take
I,
on.
I agree with you 100% there because, I mean, the reality is we are not made to be exactly the same. We are not born into this world in order to be clones of each other. We have each got, individual talents. We've got our own uniqueness, and that's what makes everything in the world so beautiful. Because if we were all the same, it would be boring. And I actually learned this very early on in my career because in every single job that I've been in some way, shape, or form, I've taken on the role of an equality and diversity advisor or diversity and inclusion advisor. And through that, it was very much understanding and really appreciating how every single one of us, no matter what our background is, our race, our sexual orientation, our ethnicity, our gender, etc., each of us have so much to add. And this is the point is, understanding and accepting and knowing that we have so much value to add simply as we are. There's nothing that we need to do. There's no qualification that we need to get. There's nothing that we need to become in order to become valuable. Like we are simply valuable as we are. And I think the really important thing I that I gained and that I'm still gaining in all of the diversity work that I do is really understanding that actually if you have a team which is made up of everyone who looks the same, all the same gender, all the same background, then you will always get, a very similar result because that's all they ever know. But when you start mixing it up and you're able to bring in someone who's had a completely different background, when you're able to bring in someone who's a completely different gender, when you're able to bring in someone who may have learned things in a different way or had a unconventional education, that's when you can really expand and go beyond like the norm.
Mm.
And that's how you're able to create amazing new things. If you look at all the great inventors, they didn't do things in the conventional ways. They are the ones that thought outside the box. And I feel like it's the same with us as human beings. We need to really be vulnerable and be brave enough to say, actually, I think differently, or actually, I do things differently. I learn differently. I see things in a different way, because when we're able to do that, that's when we can really be of value to other people, because we can show them a different perspective, and we can really show them that there's another way of doing things. There is so much possibilities and so much things that we can do in this life, but it's just about being open and welcoming that new experience, I suppose.
Mhm. It's like I like to say, your uniqueness makes us whole, because each one of
Yeah,
us have something to contribute with. Yeah, so that
absolutely.
also takes us to the importance of teams, because even I saw you once talking about this as well, but how we grow up feeling like we need to be good at everything. And then it becomes hard for us to ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
because then we are less of, we are not good enough. And and I think this, for a woman in business, it's also quite important, to think,
Mm-hmm.
being able to connect with different women and collaborate and combine talents. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I think I probably would have spoken about it in the context of of homeschooling, and just going back and remembering myself, you're expected to have, high grades in every single subject. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not, or whether or not you're actually good at that subject. You're expected to have good grades in all of those subjects, and rather than focusing in on what you're good at, and saying, okay, well, clearly this is what you're really good at. It's almost like, well, it doesn't matter what you're good at. You need to be good at everything, and you can only focus on what you're good at when you're ready to go to university. And even then, you may or may not be able to focus on that because of the expectations of people around you. And I think as well, many of us are very good at multitasking because we feel like we have to. But really, when you honor what you enjoy doing, because it's not about being superwoman or superman and just doing everything, because then you can get loads of things done. Yes, you may be able to get it done to a satisfactory standard, but is it really something that you're proud of? And I think when you are really passionate about something, when you're focused on something, and you actually know that you're going to be adding value to people, you're enjoying yourself in the process, you're more likely to give 100% to that, rather than giving 20% to all the different tasks across the board. And I think that's why it's so important, because often, especially when people are starting businesses, they feel like really overwhelmed. They feel like, oh my God, I've got to do all of this myself. I've got, my business is set up. I've got the website set up. I need to work on my taxes. I need to work on my offering. I need to work on my, legals, all of those things. And it can become overwhelming. Um, but in reality, we don't need to do that. We don't need to be good at everything. You know, what we can really do is focus on what it is that I'm really good at. What am I passionate about doing, and what do I enjoy doing? And think about ways that you can delegate and ask other people to do things for you. And also, how can you contribute and collaborate with other women or men? Because at the end of the day, I feel like when you're working in a team, not only are you getting the best from everyone, because they're sort of focusing on their zone of genius, but they also bring a sense of teamwork and that collaboration, and it's just a lovely energy to be able to work and collaborate with other people, because you get that energy of being a team rather than just feeling like you've got to do everything by yourself, which can sometimes be very lonely.
Yes, and I do feel like I still do a little bit of that. I'm still a little bit guilty of that, but at the same time, again, inspired by you a lot. Um, in fact, I think that's one of the reasons why I contact you in the first place. The first time we spoke, it's because I knew that I didn't know anything about law. I didn't know about creating legal documents or creating a strong foundation. I was very much in that intuitive, inspirational flow of I want to do my purpose, and then I went to
Mm-hmm.
you. And because I knew you could do that very well. And then, of course, then it became more than that. But I'm glad I did, because in this way, I was able to invest in my business in the proper way, because I don't need to know everything.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what would you say that from your experience in the work we do and the work you do and in your personal life, what are the common obstacles that women face when they want to start their business or grow their business?
So this is something that after I just started working on the foundations in terms of building the foundation for the business, in terms of having the legals, having the right things in place. This is something that I came up against quite a lot, because it wasn't just so I would do the legal documents for people. I would advise them on what would be best for them to start their business, how they would do it, and then it's almost like they would sit with the documents, they would sit with all that information and be like, okay, I have this in place now, and then what? So there are many things that come up. I think as women, typically things that come up are the fear of failure, fear of visibility, and not knowing if they are good enough, worthiness, whether or not they're good enough. Also whether or not they'll be supported. Can they really do this? Is someone going to say, "Oh, what are you doing? You're going off on on something which is ridiculous. Come back down to earth," sort of thing. And also it's that fear of, okay, now if I start a business, this is going to have to be serious. It's going to have to be serious. I have to worry about all of these things to do. It's just too much hassle. I'll just stick to my 9 to 5. Those are the common things that usually come up. And also a major one that comes up a lot is around money. You know, investing and not having that guarantee that they're going to make the money back. What if they spend the money and it's a waste? What if they spend the money and then someone blames them? Or what if they get into debt? So all of these things are really common when people are starting their business, especially if it's their first business. It's that uncertainty, not knowing how it's going to work out for them.
What would you suggest for the ones
So
who are listening to overcome those challenges?
so the first thing that, I mean, there's so much that I would suggest. This is one where I'm very passionate, because I feel like there is each and every one of us have got our own talents, our own uniqueness. And if you really have that calling and that desire, if it's something within you, and if you're watching this, then you're probably at the point where you're like, something needs to change, I can't do this anymore. you know I feel like it's so important to honor your calling, honor yourself, because the reality is you're not here to live out a 9 to 5 that you're not happy with. You're not here to work for someone else and to have them treat you in a way which you're not happy with. And you're not here to live a life where you're literally just earning enough to pay the bills, enough to pay the rent. It's about really believing in yourself. And this is where I honor you, Sarah, actually, for doing this, for doing things in a way where you allowed yourself to listen to that calling, despite what other people thought. You allowed yourself to listen to that calling, and you've done things on your terms. And I think it's so inspirational for people to see you and to know that actually you trusted what was inside you. And after doing so much in terms of your educational route, and also going into the corporate career, really looking at life and saying, hold on a minute, this is not what I want to do, and doing things in a way that suits you. Because really and truly, we can carry on. People can do that. You can carry on until your last breath doing things that other people tell you that you should do. You can carry on your life, working in a job that you hate. You can carry on your life working for people who don't respect you. You can absolutely do that. No one is going to tell you otherwise. But it's about looking within and really listening to what's coming up for you. Are you really willing to waste your life? Because you only get one shot. There's no, as far as I know, once you're done with this life, you're not going to come back in the same body as the same person. So do you really want to waste every single day in the way that you've done so, up until now? Or do you really want to change things? It's all good and well, um, learning things, learning the information, but it's all about actually doing things for yourself, because this is for you. Whatever you do in your life, you're doing it for yourself. And once you make that decision, then it's about really sticking to that decision, having that confidence, knowing that you can have anything that you want, and you're going to have to do the work. If and when I say work, it's not okay. Now I've got to hustle. It's about doing the inner work, looking at those belief systems, looking at all of the lessons that you've had so far. So the soul plan, for example, what is it that you're good at? What is it that that you've been overcoming in this life? What are the lessons that you can learn? How can you really look at those subconscious blocks, not only just to look at them for the sake of it, but how can you look at it and change that those blocks into things which are empowering beliefs and behaviors? Because that's where that's where the magic happens. For me, it's very much about shifting those into, okay, so who is it that I want to be? I've been this person up until now, and this has only got me this far, and clearly I'm not happy with where I am now. So what can I really do in order to move forward in my life? And it's when you commit to that change, and when you're like, I don't care, this is my life, and I'm doing it in a way which feels good to me so that I can enjoy life, because we are here to enjoy life. We're not here to be unhappy and to just live mediocre lives with just enough money to get by. We are here to experience every single bit of it. So I feel like people who are at that stage where they're not sure if they want to start their business, I would definitely recommend listening to your inner self, working in your subconscious beliefs, and then deciding what it is that you want to see instead. And once you've made that shift, really start commit to yourself, be persistent with it, and just know that anything is possible for you.
Hmm. And I think that in that comes a couple of things. One is our ability to adapt. That as children, we were amazing at it constantly. We start, we decide we want to walk and we fall a million times until we, in fact, start walking. We want to climb a tree. Perhaps we can't do it in the first 6 times and then we're able to do so. We adapt to our environment. And then
Yep.
we we develop a certain stiffness to change because we don't feel safe in change. But actually, when we are dealing with a business that is an extension of that ourselves, that means that our business will grow as we grow. So for our business to grow, we need to embrace change and flow with change. So there needs to be a bit of bravery that we can tap into. And this can be, as you said, that eagerness to be happier, to live a more fulfilling life. But there needs to be this bravery because we will go through big changes with our business. Not only our growth will help the business grow, but also our business will be a big source of learning. So there's a lot of resilience that also needs to grow in order for us to thrive. Because it will happen that when we are trying to overcome those fears of exposure, of being seen, that perhaps due to our fears that will manifest into reality, perhaps someone is going to shame us or they're going to say that they don't agree with us. And it's in those moments that we need to tap into that bravery and that self-love and looking at those moments as a guideline to our healing. And know, okay, so now this happened. Where does it come from? What can I do in order to accept this part, in order to suit that part, and then move forward? Because this will happen. It will be a constant reflection of how we are feeling within. And this is how having that belief and that vision of I want to show up as I am in my business is very important because we'll be pioneers every single time. Every single one of us will be a visionary, will be a pioneer, and there will be times where other people will not understand our vision because it's our vision. It is new. And it's by us embodying that vision then others can look and like, oh, yes, this is possible. And it will give them that inspiration to do it too. So we are constantly growing with the business more than when we are working for other people according to someone else's vision. This is a business that is coming from our core. So sometimes, at times, it can feel more challenging, but other times it will be so exciting and fulfilling. But it is a journey. I think it's also important for people to know that they don't need to have everything figured out. They don't need to know exactly what their purpose is, exactly how things are going to pan out, because for my personal experience, every time I thought I knew, I didn't. And it was always about starting something and see it merging into something else, seeing it transform. Because sometimes what we think we want is a product of our education, of our belief systems. So then it comes the part that you mentioned, Joanna, of surrender to the experience, bringing that feminine part, that flow, so that we can allow that change to happen.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so there were a couple of things that, as you were going through, and one is definitely, people are going to have their opinions. Not everybody is going to be on board with what you're doing. That's absolutely okay. But I would also say that whatever you see on your outer world is definitely a reflection of what's going on inside. So if someone is telling you something, it's more than likely that you've got something in your subconscious, which is playing that story over, and that's why you're seeing it on your outer experience. Um, Completely agree with that. But it's also about being open to possibilities. So whereas from a very young age, it's almost like you've got your path of life, laid out for you. You study hard, you go to university, get a job, you get married, you buy a house, and then apparently have children and die. That's that's a plan for life. In reality, it doesn't work that way. We are not here to be on someone else's plan. We are here to create our own lives. We're really here to do what we want to do, and other people may not agree with it, but that's okay. People have got their own opinions, but it's the same thing with any great invention. When the light bulb was being created, when aeroplanes were being created, people thought that these things were just craziness. It was not possible for something to fly in the sky, and yet we use it every single. Well, we normally use it every single day. But this is the whole point. It's about thinking outside the box, allowing yourself to be that visionary, to be that pioneer, and to not to do it for anyone else, but more to do it for yourself. Because I think self is very important here, because you're here to express, you're here to feel, you're here to enjoy. So what is it that feels good to you? And when you start from that place, that's when you can fill your own cup and know that you're truly fulfilled. And that's when, because you're in that state of being in pure happiness and pure bliss and just really enthusiastic about what you're doing, other people will really feel that, and other people will benefit from that as well.
And there's something that you do that is very inspiring too, which is your ability to discern the truth. It's it's almost like when you get this roadblock on a challenge, you have this ability to just question it and then decide what you want your reality to be right now. And you do this, it feels to me so effortless. I know that perhaps you went through a journey in order to get to that place, but it's a refreshing way to look at things, because sometimes for me as a healer, I like to explore and really dive into those things, and
Mm-hmm.
having you with that point of view really counteracts that part, and it's like, okay, let's take let's take action, let's move forward. And that ability to take action is so you, that I haven't seen any other person like that.
Oh, thank you. I didn't sort of think that it was unique to me, and I know we all have it in us, but I have to say that, like you mentioned, it was for me really going in that past, like looking at the subconscious blocks that I had initially, and I would just go down a rabbit hole and be like, okay, this is where it came from, and this is who it came from, and this is my ancestors, and it was just becoming so long and tiresome. And I made a decision that actually, yes, I could spend my whole life looking at where these blocks will come from and just keep healing and healing and healing. But is that really what I want to do with my life? Do I really want to spend the rest of my life just healing? Or do I actually want to do something? Because, I think different modalities are very popular now. You see it everywhere. There is different ways of looking at a subconscious mind. There are different modalities that are being created. There are different methods, and everyone has their own preferred way of dealing with subconscious blocks, which is fantastic because it's not something that was available. Let's say, actually, it's been available for a while, but it wasn't as widely known or widely used until quite recently. And I think the danger is that we can really get stuck in that space of feeling, oh my God, my whole life is a mess. I need to spend the next 10 years doing the work in order to clear those blocks. And you can carry on doing that for your whole life. Um, but what is it that you really want to do? And I think for me, that is where the shift is. It's like, okay, the whole point of looking at these blocks is because you're not in the place that you want to be. So what do you need to do in order to get to where you want to be? It's all good and well looking at those blocks, and it's very good in terms of like understanding, but you don't want to be wasting your time about on that on the past. The past is gone. What do you really want to see for your future, and what is it that you want to be working towards? If you're not happy with where you're at now, then what is it that you need to be doing in order to get there? And I think for me, that is where the difference is. That's where the shift is.
Mhm.
And it's only by taking that. And when we say action, it's not like hard work, it's inspired action. It's like what feels good to you. That's when you really tap into your soul and find out what it is that feels good to you to move forward into where you want to be in life.
So, and you created your business. What was your vision for it?
So when I started my business, it was very much to help other healers, coaches, and wellness entrepreneurs to start their business. So essentially, when it started, it was very focused on just business structures, and contracts, getting the accounts and things like that in order. What are the basics of building a business in order to have a strong foundation? So that it was a professional business rather than something which was a hobby on the side. Since starting my business and since working with many people, I've lost count now, but I haven't actually counted how many people, but I will do that. But since I started my business, which was just over 2 years ago now, it has evolved, it's developed into something where I actually work with women not only on the business side of things, but also with those subconscious beliefs, because I'm very much of the opinion that it's pointless in me just offering the like this is how you build a business when you're just going to sit down with your contracts, with your website, with your structure, and you're not going to do anything. My vision is definitely for women who are in that space of they've got that calling within them, they've got that desire, something within them that is just like you need to do more. Just like I had, and just like you had, those women to really step into their power, but not from a place of, okay, I'm doing this and I'm not sure. It's really to look at those subconscious beliefs, look at them, understand them, accept that it's happened, but more importantly, change it into something that they want to enjoy and experience in this life. And to really flourish. Floreo, it means to flourish. So that was my vision for the business. My initial vision was just for the business foundation, but it has adapted as I've been working with many clients. It's been how can I really add value to these people, not just give them a half baked cake. I really want to make sure that it's something that adds value and to actually see the change. It's pointless in just giving people a little bit of value and then being like, okay, so you need to go somewhere else in order to complete the process. It's really, I really want to be able to see that change and to see that they've embraced who they are and who they came here to be.
And if people would like to get in contact with you and work with you, how can they reach out?
So I have my business page on Facebook, which is Floreo, or alternatively, I also have my website, which is www.floreo.uk.
We're also going to put all the links in the description of the video. Um, but again, I wanted to say that I highly advise you to contact Joanna if you are in this place of starting your business or wanting to grow your business and feel that you resonate with this vision. Uh, really do get in touch with Joanna. And I wanted to ask
Thank you,
if
Sarah.
you have anything else to add that you feel it's important to be mentioned.
So, what I do feel is important to be mentioned is, I mean, it's really important, whichever stage you're at in your life, to do the work in terms of finding out what it is that you are here to do. You know, what is it, not what you're here to do, but more what it is that you want to do. And also, you know, the fact that Sarah offers a fantastic service in the soul plan readings. I think that is, for me, at least, it was really fantastic to look at. Oh my god, look, it's good to know that I'm on the right path, because sometimes sometimes it's very much like, okay, is this the right thing that I'm doing? Am I just, you know, jumping on someone else's bandwagon? It was
Mhm.
good for me to actually look at everything and be like, ah, this is just confirmation that I'm doing the right thing here, because there's so many things out there. So one, you know, if you can, definitely I would suggest doing a soul plan reading, because it just gives you that confirmation of all the different areas in your life, and for you to be able to see what is it that I'm really focused on, and also look at your own inner skills and your own inner wisdom, and ask yourself, is there something more that I'm here to be doing? Am I happy with my life? And if not, then what can I do in order to move forward? Because like I said, you're here to enjoy life, so really start to enjoy life. You know, it's life is here to be lived.
Yes, I agree, and I love your vision. I
Thank you.
resonate with it, and I wanted to look at the comments to see if anyone has any questions. We have Esme here saying hello.
Hi, Esme.
Um, so I'd like to give some like a couple of minutes for someone if they have any questions to ask. Um, and what are the next steps for you, Joanna, in your business?
I am yet to see. I have to say that I've been very busy over the past couple of months with a lot of people building their businesses, starting their businesses, or growing their businesses. So the more of the structural side has definitely been busy, but I think that's purely because everyone's had to be in lockdown. Um, I am definitely looking at a lot more of group courses, group coaching, just group courses, because I feel like a lot of that subconscious work, a lot of the what is it that you need to do in order to move forward in your life, still needs to be done. But because there's so many different things that are going on out there, a lot of people are very in the space of, I don't know which one is the right thing to do. So I'm in the process at the moment of actually creating a course with a book as well, so that we can really have that in an affordable format, so that if people want to, that they can, you know, go in there and start looking at, okay, how can I build my business whilst doing the healing and growing work, because I think that's the most important thing. You don't need to stop your whole life in order to heal and grow. You can absolutely do it while you're growing your business. So that's what's in the, you know, in the plan at the moment. So that's what's going to be coming out soon. But I'm still definitely focused on the business structural side, and also you know, the healing group work. I just love working with other entrepreneurs and other women, because I feel like, you know, together there's just so much value that we can add, and it just, you know, it's an amazing energy to be around like-minded women, I think.
Yes, and we learn so much from the people we work with.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I I think that's very exciting. I'm excited
Oh,
for
I'm
you.
excited. Yeah, this is literally something that has come in the past couple of weeks, because I was doing the group sessions, but it was always turning into the one-on-one. Like, you know, people preferred working one-on-one, and the way that I work, I don't like to do big groups, because I like to add that individual value as well. So I'm like, okay, I need to keep a group small so that I can really give the person value and individual time. So I feel like if if it's a recorded course, people can do it in their own time, and then we can have that session like one-on-one when needed.
Yes, and that's actually a really good way for people to get to know you, to see how you work, and
Yeah,
perhaps an entry point for further work together, but in a way that it's affordable as well.
absolutely, yeah.
I think that's really good, and perhaps a good advice for anyone who might be listening.
Yep, absolutely. And I know you've done a similar thing with the program that you just ran as well.
Yes, the rewriting empowerment, and I'm at the moment actually creating a different one that is
Fantastic.
focused on makeup as a healing tool.
Oh, do you know what? So just for anyone listening, I loved I was working with Sarah when she was creating this program, and I loved the idea so much that once it was created, I actually gifted it to my daughter for her Christmas present, because I was like, this is actually what so many people need to learn. And if I can allow her to learn it from, so she's going to be 15, if I can let her learn it from this age, then it's fantastic. And she, it's amazing just to see the changes and the shifts that she's experienced through going on your program. It's just amazing, because before going on your course, she was very much like, looking at Instagram, seeing what all the other, so-called Instagram models were looking like, and feeling like she had to be, she had to conform. And it was constantly like, oh, can I wear this makeup? Can I do that? And I'm like, you don't need to. You're still young. You're beautiful as you are. And now just seeing her embracing her own beauty, and really being an empowered young woman, it's really lovely to see. And thank you so much for offering that. And I feel like anyone, if you've got teenage children, or even if you yourself are in that space where you're like, I need to conform, I need to do things like, I need to look like someone else, I need to get whatever surgery to look like someone, then don't do that and just go on Sada's course.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have Anisa in the course. Honestly, she was so supportive, not only to me, but to everyone in the program, and you could truly feel that energy. And it was a big pleasure because she also always put all of herself in every task, in everything that she did with such grace and so kind, so polite. So it was a pleasure to
Oh,
have
that's great
her.
to hear.
And I feel like with me, in that, the reason why that came about was because I didn't grow up wearing makeup at all. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my mother didn't wear makeup. And even in terms of culture, in Portugal, you don't see a lot of young women wearing makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only in my 20s that I found my first eyeliner, mascara.
Mm-hmm.
And when I discovered it, I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, I can't. It's like painting on someone's
Mm-hmm.
face. And so, but the benefit for me is that I grew up with my face as it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I went through all um, my challenges in my teenage years and childhood with my face,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a benefit as well. Of course, I was hiding in a different way, but I had to. It's not like I had to, but I was able to experience life with
Mm-hmm.
my natural looking face. And then when I started learning makeup, it was just like that moment where that you said that I want to see how I can bring more happiness into my life. The same thing happened with makeup. I was like, it became my escape to the reality I was in. Where I was quite unhappy, and when I learned makeup, I had to spend time with my face, and that was the turning point. Because when you feel like your face is ugly, or you feel ashamed, or you're afraid of being seen or being judged, or you look at your face and you only see flaws. You look at your face in the morning and you are your worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
This unfortunately happens more than we would like to admit.
Yeah.
And it happens also silently. And we do this time and time again until it becomes who we are. We
Mm.
don't know any differently. And I didn't know, to the point that I didn't even look at myself in the mirror. And going to Canada to learn makeup, it's like, okay, so now I'll have to look at my face,
Mm.
and I have to find what's right. And I have to accept my face. That was the first point. So for me, makeup was not just about a career or a passion.
Mm.
It was my vehicle for healing.
Yep.
So I always saw it not a tool to hide myself, but actually a tool to heal. Because not only it brought up my creativity, because I could express myself through the makeup,
Mm.
but also gave me that ritual of spending time with myself that I didn't have before.
Mm.
And also, and this bringing in the concept of community and having people around you that are supportive and in alignment with your vision. I had around me uh, very supportive classmates that could tell me how they loved my eyebrows or my cheekbones. And I was like, oh yeah, actually, there's some
Yeah.
beauty in certain aspects. So this is why I do it as a group,
Yep.
because it's not only the that healing aspect that needs to happen within, is actually building that community of receiving compliments and giving compliments that I
Yep.
think it's very needed in the world.
Absolutely. I think that's so right because often when people start wearing makeup, I know definitely for me when I was a teenager, it was more of oh I've got pimples or I've got scars, I need to cover it up, and that's what a lot of people start doing. It's like okay, well I need to cover up something, I need to contour my every single part of my face in order to make it look like someone else, and in reality that's not what it is at all. Like you mentioned, it's this therapeutic phase where you're actually looking in the mirror and you're like looking at every single one of your features, and it becomes an act of self-love and of really being grateful and honoring every single part of you and using makeup as that tool of self-love rather than simply to hide behind a mask and say, well, I don't like how my something is, so I'm going to cover it up. um, and that's what's really important. And I feel like the way that you do it is amazing because it just helps people to understand that actually you can. It doesn't mean that you have to completely not use makeup. It means that you're using it in a way to just enhance what you have, and show the parts of you that you're really proud of. As opposed to feeling like you've just got to cover up because that's we only get one body, one costume, as I like to call it. We're here in this body, and we are here to really accept and nourish and appreciate the bodies that we've been given in this life.
Yes. So I think that my vision for this in particular is a world in which all women look at themselves in the mirror and love the face they see.
Mm, yeah,
However, it
that's
looks like
beautiful.
waking up in the morning completely messy on their face
Yeah,
with makeup, perhaps crying or smiling
yeah,
to love their faces
mm,
and to be their own best friend.
absolutely. Because I think that's the thing. A lot of the times, people will spend a lot of their lives obsessing over the way they look, how much they weigh, everything else. But it's just about really embracing it and being proud of who you are.
Definitely. I think there's another beautiful lady. I hope I say the name right. Guzalia. Also
Oh, hi,
saying
Gazalia.
saying thank you, ladies. It was lovely.
Oh, thank you so much for joining. So Gazalia is also one of my teachers. She's a shamanic teacher. She's amazing. So thank you so much for joining.
Yes, I always appreciate the the people that are watching, because they create this environment that allows us to just go with the flow and talk about whatever we need to talk about. And
Absolutely.
we can feel the love.
Yes. Very grateful for you all.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for joining me.
Thank you for
For talking
inviting me,
so
Clara.
openly.
It's been lovely to speak to you, and we could probably go on for ages and ages, but we'll stop now. And it's such a pleasure to see you, and thank you everyone for joining and for listening. And we will see you soon.
Yes. Okay. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.